From a sharecropper's son to an esteemed baseball coach for Southern University, a road that was potholed with poverty, racism, and pain. These obstacles should have kept him from the top of his game. Instead, he fought back with everything he had and won. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope against all odds chronicles the life of legendary head coach Roger Cador, the 14-time SWAC champion with 11 NCAA regional appearances. He's a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He's a member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. He's a prestigious inductee into the Southern University Hall of Fame. And now, he's a distinguished member of the College Baseball Hall of Fame. Purchased today, Against All Odds. Against All Odds can be purchased on Amazon, Audible, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and Google Play.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another exciting episode of Choppin' It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Of course, I am Perry White, and this is the man, the myth, the legend himself, my man, Coach Roger Cador. What's going on, Coach?
Just the weather.
Just the weather. It is, as everybody knows, across South Louisiana this week, we're dealing with inclement weather, so we ask that everybody out there, please proceed with caution this week. If you don't have to get out there, please don't do it, and make sure that you have things around your house in order just to keep you safe and make sure you don't have to get out there and mess around, because you got a lot of rain, the potential for flash flooding in some areas. There's been lightning and thunder, and even maybe some possibility of some wind.
Right. I tell you, it was really bad this morning. Around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, it was really coming down pretty hard where I live. And the Mississippi River is extremely high downtown Baton Rouge. It's at an all-time high level. So we better be on the watch out for that, just in case, with all the water coming out of the Midwest, that snow is melting, a lot of rain in the Midwest, dumping into the Mississippi, coming down here. So we've got a lot of things to be concerned about in the next few days.
Yeah, so we ask that everybody out there, please remain cautious and be safe. And as we get into today's show, Coach, how was your week? How was everything since the last time we had a conversation here?
Pretty good. Was busy. I had a visit yesterday with the people with MLB who was promoting the Swingman Invitation or Swingman Classic. They came by to do some footage with Coach Chris Crenshaw, and they did some with me of going over some of the things that I was able to accomplish when I coached at Southern. Fortunate that we had the pictures in the FG Clark Center that they were able to observe, take pictures, talk about, and the pictures told a great story, and more than one story, by the way. And we were able to go into detail about a lot of them.
And for everybody out there, the Swingman Classic is a game. It's going to be the third year they're going to have it. This year is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be doing the MLB All-Star Weekend. And it's an opportunity from HBCU baseball players from Division I ranks, particularly the MEAC schools and the SWAC schools, to have an opportunity to showcase their talent as all-stars on the biggest stage during the MLB season besides the World Series, MLB All-Star Weekend. So it is something Coach Cador has been on the forefront of and making sure that these student athletes and these players get an opportunity to be seen, to showcase their talent. And no better way than to do it at the Swingman Classic in its third year. Year one, it was in Seattle. Year two, Dallas, and now moving over this year following the MLB All-Star Weekend in Atlanta. So big things coming in. with that film crew coming, I know they asked you a ton of questions. Give us some insight on some of the questions and the stories that you gave for that MLB film crew.
Well, it took about 2 hours and something for us to go through the whole thing. So, they asked a lot of questions. And, a lot of the question was self-explanatory because the pictures told a story. They had information on the pictures. Main thing is, how was I able to get so many good players to come to Southern? And it was basically the parents. I sold the parents on a hope and a prayer, and that if they send me their son, I'll give them back a better product, a more finished product. And we tried our very best to do that, and in many cases we've succeeded.
And you're talking about getting those parents to believe in you because you went all across the country, sometimes in some rough neighborhoods, sometimes some good neighborhoods, sometimes some country rural neighborhoods. For you, you had to be adaptable for each one of those situations because they were different. People come from different backgrounds. What made you so great at being adaptable in those different situations and environments? Because, sometimes people can't cope with different communities and seeing things differently.
And you're so correct in saying that, because when I went into Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Houston, all of them they provided different challenges for me. There were many times my wife was saying, don't go into those cities. Well, my whole thing was, I have to go get those kids out of there. They need someone like me. Let me go get them. And I went in there, and sometimes I had two great challenges. The first city I ever went into, a big city, was L.A. Went into L.A., but I had someone to take me around in L.A., so that made it in the Watts area. I went to the first high school I went to. It's a high school, Ozzie Smith and Eddie Murray, Lott High School. Two Hall of Famers played on the same high school team. I went to that school and spoke to the kids I didn't get anybody out of there, but I went down a little further down the road and found a kid by the name of Coco Chris. So Coco ended up coming to Southern, and his mother and father liked what I had to say, and the rest is history, And then, but the Detroit trip, the first time into Detroit, I couldn't get to the house on the street that I needed to go see Grady Davison, because they had kids. I'm not going to say kids, men blocking that street, making sure the wrong person don't come in and out of there. So that was challenging. So back then, that was in '86. Didn't have no cell phone, by the way. Not back then. So I went to the phone on
the payphone.
The payphone. Called Grady and said, "Hey man, they won't let me through here." And he said, "Okay, coach, stay there. I'll come and get you." And then that got me through. And the grandmother, who was from Montgomery, Alabama, she's in the house. They're prisoners in their own house. And she said, "This is why you got to take him out of here. This is why." And that was one of the easiest recruiting. The people helped sell it for me by blocking me from going there. They made it easy for the grandmother. The mother was sitting in there. It was Grady, his sister, his mother, and grandmother. 3 women and 1 boy. And the grandmother made the decision. So you take that boy down south, get him out of here. So, that was an easy one because she saw this is what he's got to look forward to. People can't come down the street. You know what I'm saying? You got to get permission. So that was the one. The other one was Chicago. I signed a kid out of Chicago. Rainy night, thundering, lightning, just a lot of Cabrini Green. You know about that.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go in there. Well, the grandfather was a police officer, and I had to go in there and sign the kid. Boy, it's like, and the lights are out.
Was you nervous?
Damn right I was. I'm using Isaac Hayes. Damn right. Grandfather put the pistol on the table and said, "Let's talk."
Mm-hmm.
We talked, and he liked what I was saying. This was the only woman in the house was his sister.
Mm-hmm.
This time it was 3 men and 1 boy and me.
Mm-hmm.
Normally it's women, but this one they had men. So, and he asked the young man, Chauncey, said, "Is that someone you want to go play ball for, boy?" "Yes, sir." "Okay, good." He said, "Let me see your paperwork." Put the paperwork there. He read over it with the flashlight. Remember, the lights are out.
Mm-hmm.
Flashlight, thundering, lightning. I'm thinking it's shooting. There's a lot of shooting going on.
Yeah.
Probably what it was,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we got that done, and those were the 2 most challenging signees. And they happened in back-to-back years, 86 and 87. So I got out of there, and Chauncey, I flew into O'Hara. Well, Cabrini Green is way in the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, he got me on that doing interstate driving fast, and it's raining. I was, ooh.
He's trying to get you out of there, Coach.
Well, when we were leaving the apartment to go down to the car, I had to rent a car. He said, "If anybody come at you, jump in the car, take off, and don't look back."
Mm-hmm.
That's what he told me. Don't look back, just take off. Now, that let you know what kind of situation you're dealing with. So once I got on I can't remember what interstate that was that led me to O'Hara. I was speeding like crazy. When I saw O'Hara, I said, "Man, I'm there now."
Got to get ready to get back home.
Well, it was about 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
You know, I said, "I'm got to get home." My wife did want me to come on this trip anyway, and I made it home.
You know, those are the stories when you look at recruiting that I don't think people really understand when it comes to recruiting. You think you're just going to talk to a kid and like it's all good, but you deal with the situations of that kid. And you're talking about the urban areas. What about some of the rural areas where you may have dealt with a kid who may have come from like a similar situation like yourself? Tough, hard, and having to work for everything, but you're just so far away from most major communities. You're very rural life.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story. I was an assistant basketball coach back in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
In Georgia. They used to have a big tournament where the best high school basketball players come in. Milledgeville, Georgia, outside Atlanta. And I went there, and I was working. And I met the old lefty Drizel, was the coach at Maryland. They used to call him the old lefty. He obviously was left-handed. And we were there, and we struck a conversation, started talking. So after that, all them guys went, and he and I went to see Kenny Skywalker. Kenny Skywalker was from Roberta, Georgia, way south Georgia, small little rural road. He and I driving down there, and he ended up going to Kentucky, by the way. But the old lefty said to me, said, "Young man, this is why they don't want me and you to be successful." Said, "Look at here, all them coaches there, you and I are the only 2. Go and see this kid, and he's the best player there." And he said, "They want to run people like you and I out of this business because they are lazy." I'm not going to be able to use the words, what he said about how lazy they were. And he said, "You'll be okay in this business. You're going to outwork them, but they don't want you to outwork them. They're going to put rules in place where everybody got to work the same amount of hours. They don't want you to work overtime to be better and win." Lefty Drizel was right. The old lefty, they've got rules in place now where everybody got to recruit the same amount of hours. How fair is that? Why, if a guy want to work a little harder to go a few different places to find somebody or see a few different, what's wrong with that? You got me? That's not cheating. You just outworking people. This is what they say. You can't outwork people. You got to do the same thing they do. So old Lefty Drizel told me about it. But we went to Roberta, Georgia. We driving. The roads are very narrow. Country road, really country. And got in there, and Skywalker Daddy was an old man. He had him when he was old. You know, but I had to say it because it's true.
You walked in and saw this old man like, is this your granddad? And no, this your dad.
I didn't see the mama, so I don't know how young his mother was. Only saw the dad. And that was an adventure because that 81, I just started coaching in 80 basketball, so that was my first adventure going into rural America. You know, really rural America, way deep down in the south of Georgia. And I went some other places in Georgia, south, and in Mississippi, and definitely in Louisiana. I went to a lot of rural places. Some didn't have phones. I mean, that was the time I was coaching. There were no phones. You had to make do with what you had. And you know, down below Homer, Louisiana, in the rural, the Terrebonne parishes, I found some good players down there. So you got to go deep down into rural America sometimes to find the unknown. That's how I made my name, because I went where nobody else would go in basketball. And when Stockling came in, and he said, how did you find all these kids? He wanted to know. He said, nobody knew about them kids. I said, they didn't want to go look for them. They're right here in Louisiana, down in the South, down in the bayous. Yeah.
Well, let's get ready to take a break, everybody. And listen, we'll come right back with more exciting stories on Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Let's pay some bills, and we'll be right back, all right?
Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights, gravitate towards something out of this world, even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. Breck, we're more than a playground.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against All Odds. Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against All Odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against All Odds. Get yours today. by Cador and Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, we're back with more Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I am Perry White. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, this is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Coach Roger Cador. And we're sitting here having very interesting conversation, talking about MLB coming in on this week and sitting down and have an opportunity to get some content from you to also include with the Swingman Classic, which is the annual, so far, third annual HBCU All-Star game that's played during MLB weekend. This year is going to be in Atlanta. So people there are going to be able to hear these stories to be able to be told from a legend like yourself.
Well, they got a lot of content, let me put it that way. So they have a lot to say, to share with the people, and to know some of the historical background of Southern baseball. They'll know, and African-American kids can know that, you know what? I didn't know that. I didn't know Ricky Weeks literally won the Heisman Trophy in 2003, Golden Spikes Award at Southern. I didn't know Southern had the best record in Division I baseball in 2002, 2003. They had the highest runs scored per game in 2002 and 2003. They led the nation in that. I didn't know that. So now they're going to know that was accomplished by a lot of young black men who worked hard and believed in the system that they could do whatever they want if given the opportunity.
And you was talking about how you got those young men, the recruiting aspect. You know, you got them there, and that was the coaching, but you had to go, like you just said, Royal Georgia looking for talent, South Rural Louisiana looking for talent. Then not only that, you had to go into some tough urban areas across the nation, from LA to Detroit to Chicago, in order to do that. But that's the rigors of what comes with being a head coach. And what made it even more special with you, you were at a school, quote unquote, that we call low resource institution. So you didn't have a team of coaches that were with you. It was pretty much you being able to make it work and then build it from the inside out.
And if you're going to be successful, you got to take chances. It's all about taking chances. You got to go into places other people are not willing to go. I took that chance. I was willing to go. I was thinking in my mind, I can talk to anybody. I can talk my way. You know, this is why I went. I mean, you know, here's my wife telling me don't go.
Yeah.
I'm going. And I'm going into, you know, Chicago and Detroit, tough places. LA, tough places, you know.
And let me ask you, because you have a unique, distinguished voice with an accent that, you know, oftentimes you hear people when they do the Coach Cador impression. I find myself doing it as well. Oh, PJ, you know. But for you, when you go places, it is unique with the accent. What is normally the conversation people have when they hear? Like, where are you from?
Some ask where I'm from. So, oh, your voice is unique, your accent is unique. And then they want to know, what, are you Caribbean? No, I said, based from what I can find out, my people a couple of 100 years ago came in from Haiti. So we're Haitians. And so that's where it is, and I don't even know I have an accent. And I think that's what makes it good. I don't need to know. Just keep doing what I do, you know.
Because it attracts people, especially in conversation. When you get to talking, they're like, well, where's this guy from, man? You know, because it sounds different.
It is different because I'm different. And I like the fact that I am. I've always been a little different from the norm. And
I think to be successful, to separate yourself where they say there's average people and then there's above normal people. And I think you put yourself in above normal because in a tough time in which you grew up in rural Louisiana, right there around New Roads, there was a lot that told you what you couldn't be and what you wasn't going to be.
That's right.
But you had to be different to have a viewpoint to see it different than that. And although it was different, it was uncharted territory. It was a place you had never seen before. It was things that you had never done before, but you were willing to go into that uncharted territory to see at least what it was like.
You nailed it. I was willing to uncharted territory. And a man from the South. And had they, you know, a lot of time, those people in Detroit and Chicago and cities like that, they got a country boy coming in this may be an opportunity to take advantage. That was not the case with me.
We call that city slick.
Yeah, yeah.
They were trying to city slick you.
Yeah, city slicking. You know what was so funny? My brother, who don't know any better, said to me, "Hey man, you taking a gun? You take a gun with you to go in all them places?" I said, "Hey man, what do I need a gun for? Gun doesn't save life. Gun kills." Now listen, when they say, people say, "What the hell is he talking about?" Gun doesn't save your life. It'll kill somebody, but it doesn't necessarily save your life. If you don't have that gun, nobody's life is lost. So it doesn't save life, it takes life. And so I knew about that, and I said, I don't even own a gun. I've never shot a darn gun. So there was no way I was going to get on a plane with a gun to go defend myself. Can't win with a gun in that city.
Yeah, no, it was many more guns than your one gun.
Yeah, but he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of thinking he thought. But I was thinking way different. Honey and a little love and a little communication gonna get you a lot further than that six-shooter. That six-shooter gonna give you 6 shots and it's all over. The love, honey, understanding, communicating, take you a lot further.
And I think that's when you sit down with parents and you have that conversation, because once again, you're hundreds of miles away from the campus that you're recruiting from, and you're trying to persuade a parent to send their kid hundreds, in some cases thousands of miles of a place they never even been. And then to trust that child with you. But one thing they knew, damn it, it was better than the environment that we was in. But listen, we're not going to send them down there with just anybody. This is somebody who's going to mold them, build character, and not only that, give him something to be successful about in life that he'll talk about forever. And that's playing for championships, winning championships, and on top of that, accomplishing goals, and most importantly, graduating.
Yeah, we graduated a lot of kids, and we made baseball valuable. We made it a valuable commodity. And what I mean by that, when you have something of value, you can get people to gravitate to it, work for it, to be a part of it. And that's what we did. Once we made it valuable, there was no turning around. People wanted to be there. Guys would do anything to be a part of it. They had some guys say, "I ain't leaving, I want to just be a part of it." See, that's the way they felt. So a lot of people don't make that product valuable. I made it more than just winning. I put all the things on there. Going to class, being kind to young ladies, don't curse in class, take your cap off in the building, don't wear earrings, work hard at your academics. You know what I'm saying? You know, all of those things added value because they could start seeing it when you're talking about it every day. It start growing on them and being a part of them. And so they begin to see it. And then when they're 4 or 5 years into the system, they're passing it back down to other kids.
We call that culture.
They coach them. And my players were better coaches than me with that teammate because they in that dormitory with them. They know all of what's going on. You got me? I'm isolated from it. So they were able to coach in that respect.
It was things, you know, and that's the beauty of when you get a coach that comes in and has that mindset. It's tough in the beginning because you're trying to get that first group to buy in.
Yeah.
Once that first group starts to buy in, they go through the process and then they start to put that on the next young group. Now it's not so much on the coach because now the players understand it, now the players holding accountability. Now we got a system. And in that system, now we're turning this thing into a program. And the more we get it to buy in and the more you lead by example by showing them that this is what I'm telling you, now that you see it, look what we have. We're competing for championships. We're successful. And guess what? Everybody's talking about us.
That's right.
We're leading national stats. We're winning national awards. We're playing on the national stage. And this is what I told you. If you just pay attention, you listen, and you do the things that I ask. That has to be probably for me, listening to you, is that the best feeling out of coaching?
That's one. I don't know. There's one. something happened in 1986 on the north end at the football practice field under the goalpost on the north end. That's what we had to practice. We had no field to practice. So we practiced on the football practice field. What a great, good kids. They practiced. They didn't complain. But under that pole, I looked them in the eye and told them something.
What you say, Coach?
I said, let me tell you something. When history is written, you guys are going to be a part of it. You all are going to be in history. Y'all going to be a part of history when it's written. And they looked me in the eyes and they believed me. And a year later, 1987, New Orleans, Louisiana, in May, on a muggy, hot night, in May of 1987, Cal State's Fullerton come to town. And
Number one
ranked, number 2 in the country, number 1 seed. And we went in, nobody gave us a chance. It was a guy said, if Southern win, it'll be a cold night in hell.
I guess we realized
Tim Brando said it. My wife is angry.
Uh-huh.
I'm going home and she's angry. She wants to call a TV station. Heaven, I said, leave him alone. I said, he's giving his opinion.
Well, I guess that was one cold night in hell then.
Well, hold on. So he had to eat those words.
Uh-huh.
And he's still eating them today whenever I see him. He's still eating them. So, this is why you got to be careful what you say.
Yeah.
In athletics, you got to be careful. You don't know. Nobody gave us a chance. This was the time for me to put $100,000 down in Vegas on us. I would have been a millionaire.
Ooh, yeah, because you probably was plus 20,000 in that game. Yeah, that would have been a big hit.
Yeah, but they would have fired me if I find out I gambled. Betted on the team. But yeah.
That's a great story. So let's get ready to take a break, everybody, and we'll come back and we'll continue more of these stories. So you guys stay tuned. Go get a drink. Go use the bathroom, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. More Choppin' It Up. Coach Roger Cador, Perry White.
Cats down by 58 with 1 minute left.
Hey, where's everybody going? This game's not over. So we're not the best. Our kicker stubbed his toe on the ball, and pretty sure our mascot has his costume on backwards. But this is our team. No matter what.
Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights. Gravitate towards something out of this world. Even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. Brack, we're more than a playground.
Hey, it's Jimmy Ott with ESPN Radio. Both Coach Roger Cador and I have gone to Dr. Dale Police for years for all of our dental needs. Dr. Police uses the latest technology in preventive dental cleaning, digital x-rays and night guards, restorative tooth-colored fillings, porcelain crowns, complete partial dentures. Zoom whitening, you can whiten teeth 10 shades in as little as an hour. Dental emergencies for infections, broken tooth, or restoration when things just go wrong. Most insurance is accepted. Dr. Dale Police and Dr. Larry Oob, available Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., 926-6899, and PoliceDentistry.com.
All right, everybody, we're back more Choppin' It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I am Perry White, and he is the Hall of Famer, Coach Roger Cador. And Coach, great show thus far because it's given us some insight, not only just from your career, but different perspectives, right? Telling guys you're going to be a part of history and then buying into it and realizing we were a part of history. Then the recruiting side, but most of all, with MLB being here this weekend, Major League Baseball sending a crew to talk to you and interviewing you, that is huge because of the stories and the success that you've had and the amount of guys that you sent to play Major League Baseball, along with right now being a consultant with MLB. But when you get this opportunity now after coaching and get a chance to realize, you know, they coming to talk to me. They coming to ask questions about me and about my life and about my story. How does that feel when it starts to resonate and realize, like, maybe I had a pretty good life?
It's just not about me. They want to know about my players and the team. So it wasn't just about me. Obviously, I'm the main character in the story because I'm the one they have to talk to get the story. And since everything is oral, we don't have a written history, but I did have information down where they could see and verify that we actually did what we did. And that's always helpful. So if there are any historical black schools out there, try to do a good job of preserving your history. I did it without, my son said, what made you think about doing that? I said it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. Nobody else was going to do it. All of the history we got would have been gone if I hadn't taken the initiative. Nobody else was going to do it. And it's sad. It's sad that they look that way at history and not understand it means something. Because it's an example setter for the next generation or the next generation to know that there were people who accomplished things that were great in the eye of adversity, in the eyes of adversity. Who would have thought in 2002 and 3 we did what we did against, and we beat the biggest schools with millions of dollars in their budget, and we only had 25,000, and we did it against them.
That comes back to, you know, in the words of the late Dr. Everett Gibson, you have to know where you come from in order to know where you're going. And we have to be able to tell our stories and realize, because what we realize with young people, and including myself as being young, you think everything starts with you. You think you're the first one to do it, and what older people say, man, this ain't the first time. You're not the first one to do it. You're just doing it in your time, but it's been done before. It's just finally you're starting to see it because it's your first time. You think you're just coming up with it. And that's the thing about when it comes to history, especially success. Sometimes when people see success in their time, they're thinking, well, I'm the first one. We're the first group, and they want that glory. But it's like, pay homage and have respect for those who laid the platform, the foundation. Because somebody laid the foundation to build the house off of. I think even with you, there were people before your time from coaching and playing that laid the foundation at Southern University. Talk about some of those people.
And I was going to get into that because I'm not the first one. Obviously, I played on teams that were really good and did a lot of good things. But let's go back to Emory Hines and Bob Lee, and then Lou Brock. They won the first championship in the state of Louisiana, national championship. It was NAIA, but that's all they had at the time. In 1959, they won the NAIA national championship. So they had done an accomplished thing, but nobody wrote about it. People don't know because we've covered the history. Oh, buried is the best word to put it.
You had to be there to see it, to know it.
If you weren't there, you don't know. Because we don't even do anything. One of the things I did in the when I built the clubhouse, I made sure I put Lou picture in there. You know, I put Danny Goodwin picture. I put Ricky Weeks picture. I did all of that before I even put my picture. My picture is not even in there. But I wanted those people to know it's not just about me. Those people did great things too. And I wanted them to know that if I was selfish, I would have put myself first because I paid for it.
Well, the building, it does have your name.
Yeah.
It is the Roger Cador baseball.
It does?
I guess that's good enough.
I was talking about the inside. Before my name was put on the building, before my name was actually put on the building, I had those names put in there. Yeah, I had no idea they were going to put my name on the building.
Yeah.
So we had put those pictures in there. And I didn't put my picture up. Now, a lot of people ask me, why didn't you? I said, it'll come. It'll come. I'll get it done. It's just like waiting 16 years to get that building up. Got to show patience, man, perseverance. Most people give up.
Yeah.
I don't give up. I don't know what it is.
You say you different.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Oh,
You
yeah,
different.
I am different.
Yeah. You're not like everybody else. So you see the world in a perspective that, and you had a drive. I mean, you think about in the time, what era were you were a child? In what we looking at? The 50s? The
50s.
Yeah.
50s, early 60s.
And we see as a black man in rural South, that's tough. And it wasn't many options, especially limited education and not really knowing what that world out there looks like aside from my community, because it's not the world that we see today where everybody's connected by the internet. You can watch and see what the world looks like now without ever having to go there yourself. You know, plenty of people plan travel and vacation. You never been there, but the internet shows you everything you can do when you get there so you can be prepared.
Yeah.
The world you was growing up in that time wasn't nothing to prepare you. You had to prepare yourself to get out there.
Have to do a lot of dreaming and lay in the bed and fantasize. And I use the word fantasize. It was, at the time, it was only a fantasy. There was no way I could get there. We had no money, no way. Didn't know anybody outside of the family and the people in the community. So how in the hell am I going to get there?
And even know what it's looking like, what it is to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, just started working, and it started with a hope and a dream. Bought a basketball, made some money, bought a basketball goal, put it up in my sister's backyard. Went to practice, made myself better. I was terrible, but I made myself better.
Got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
Do you look back on those days when you say you lay in the bed as a child and as a young man, a teenager, and you just, you know, hands behind your head and you just looking up and just like, one day, whatever it is, one day, do you often think back on like those small moments? Like, and I'm saying small because they monumental. Those were the fabric and the foundation of who you are, but just take that look back like, man, I come a long way.
You must have done this because you have a pretty good vision of what you're talking about. Laying back with your hand behind you. You must have done that before.
I've done that before.
Oh, I could imagine. We all have. And
is that how it was? It's something similar like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot anymore, you know, but, you know, I'm sure. But I used to lay on the front porch and look at the moon. Or lay in the grass in the front yard and look at the moon, the stars. And see the stars and try to count them. Can't count them. Couldn't count them. You know, but I used to look at it and fantasize.
Yeah.
And, well, I used the word fantasize, but it was a fantasy at that point. Because, you know, I never thought I would ever be able to travel in planes.
It didn't seem real at the time.
It wasn't real when people got their foot on your neck and you can't breathe hardly. So a lot of things don't seem real.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem possible. You're just trying to gasp for air. You know, let me breathe my next, take the next breath.
You're just surviving.
Just surviving. So, but things kept happening. I kept pushing. I kept moving. I kept being proactive. And it happened.
Because I know it all too well. Like, that's how, I guess, picturing it that same way, coming from where I come from, right? I wanted to go out and do something and be something. I just didn't know what it was. You know, when you're young, you think you can do everything in the world. But it was like, how do I even get started? Where do I start? You know, does anybody help me? Or how do I do this? And what does it look like when I know I don't have the money and the resources as a family to support that? It's easier for people who have that resource and the money where, hey, go try it. We'll back you. Then if it don't work out, we'll try something else. It was like you either gonna get it right or you might end up back at home. And for me, it was not going back home. That was not an option. I was gonna make it work no matter how I had to make it work. And that's exactly what I did.
In my case, I couldn't fail. I had to succeed. I just said, I can't go back home. I'm not going back. And the thing would be, my daddy, who gave up everything that he knew to let me go to high school when I begged him, and he gave up farming. And that's all he knew. But he gave it up for me to pursue my dream, go to school. How could I go back home a failure, face him and say, he gave up everything he knew for me and I quit. He didn't quit. So that's why you can't quit. I see young people today quit at the drop of a pen. You can't quit. And that was my thing. I couldn't quit. I had to forge forward, keep going. And finally, I broke through that mental barrier that was holding me back. Got through it. Once I got here, things started looking a lot better. And when I say here, meaning that Southern, it started looking a lot better.
Well, let's get ready to take another break, everybody. And this is our last one. So before we get ready to close things out, we'll be right back. More Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Hey, it's Jimmy Ott with ESPN Radio. Both Coach Roger Cador and I have gone to Dr. Dale Police for years for all of our dental needs. Dr. Police uses the latest technology in preventive dental cleaning, digital x-rays and night guards, restorative tooth-colored fillings, porcelain crowns, complete partial dentures. Zoom whitening, you can whiten teeth 10 shades in as little as an hour. Dental emergencies for infections, broken tooth, or restoration when things just go wrong. Most insurance is accepted. Dr. Dale Police and Dr. Larry Oob, available Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., 926-6899, and PoliceDentistry.com.
From a sharecropper's son to an esteemed baseball coach for Southern University, a road that was potholed with poverty, racism, and pain. These obstacles should have kept him from the top of his game. Instead, he fought back with everything he had and won. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope against all odds chronicles the life of legendary head coach Roger Cador, the 14-time SWAC champion with 11 NCAA regional appearances. He's a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He's a member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. He's a prestigious inductee into the Southern University Hall of Fame. And now, he's a distinguished member of the College Baseball Hall of Fame. Purchased today, Against All Odds. Against All Odds can be purchased on Amazon, Audible, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, we are back. More Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. He's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Coach Roger Cador. And I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys tuning in and hope you guys have enjoyed this show. Of course, you can catch us on Pelican Sports Television any random time. Just flip through the channel, and if you see him and you see me, you just hold up for just a second and say, let me tune in and see what these guys are talking about today, because you never know what you're going to get out of a guy like Coach Roger Cador, a Hall of Famer. What are you laughing about? They laughing at me back there. But you never know what the stories that you're going to get, because as a coach who's coached basketball, football, as a former player.
No football.
I mean, basketball and baseball. And as a former player in basketball and baseball, you've had an opportunity over the years to come across so many people, go so many places. So there's stories for days with you that you can remember.
Yeah.
So
a lot of them I forget, but I do remember a lot.
They keep laughing at me back here. So, but for you, man, it's always, I tell you, it is an honor. Way younger guy, but even from a distance growing up, I grew up in a household that we watched and we supported HBCU sports. My mom being a graduate from an HBCU, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and I always heard the name of Roger Cador. Growing up, you were a name that resonated with people throughout the country. Never had met you. I met you once I came to Southern, and then at my time working as a student and doing some things, and then I got a chance to meet you. But it was kind of on the back end of the career when you was getting ready to get out of things. But nonetheless, over the time that I've been able to be around you and listen to you and just hear these stories, man, it is, for me, it's wisdom. And most importantly, it's what you talk about. We normally do so much with oral history, but now you're getting the opportunity to put that out there for people to hear and to see and to understand that this history means something and it is important. And although things happen in the present, one day that's going to be history itself. And somebody has to tell the story. Nobody better to tell it than you.
Well, that's what was the thing. The people from MLB were impressed that they said, man, we're historical. This have historical proportion. We can come here and see. People can come look and see this. See, no other school in baseball have this in the SWAC. You got me? And I'm a little surprised Grambling doesn't have it because they have got the best history keeping of all the schools because when you only had 3 or 4 different people for over 60, 70, 80 years, you can do better upkeep, you know what I'm saying?
And I think with Grambling, a lot of attention goes more towards Eddie Robinson and the football side of things.
Yeah, that's right. That's real. You're right about that. That's why they spent that time doing. And
but there's a rich baseball history there as well.
Yeah, basketball too. Baseball is real history because the president coached it. You got me?
They're not doing that these days.
No, no. At most historical black school president coached baseball. Even at Southern, one of the first president, what was that name?
You talking about Clark, Felton G. Clark?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Felton, but he coached baseball at Southern in 1918. He coached baseball. So that was the thing. Baseball was so big in the black community. So it was the right thing for presidents to coach it.
So does that make you the president? Are you president material?
No. You know, plus I don't want to be the president.
Yeah.
Where I am in life right now is where I want to be. I don't want to go back to none of that, to have the headache of dealing with some of the foolishness that's taking place.
They say it get real political sometime, Coach.
It is.
Yeah.
So I don't have to deal with no politics, no feelings. I'm retired. I do what I do with MLB, and I'm on my own. I travel. I do what I want to do.
Is that the part when it comes to coaching sometime when people are looking at why coaches do certain things that you got to realize too, there's a game that they have to play because it's a political side to things that people don't see in the public. It's a lot of backdoor, private room meetings that occur that you got to kind of adhere to and find yourself. How do I navigate through that?
I was fortunate. I didn't have to do any navigating. Those people allowed me to do my thing. And it's because I didn't do anything stupid. Okay, I did everything right in their eyes. And so they never even challenged me. They never talked to me about anything. They were happy the way I ran the program. So I didn't have all of that issue with that coaches have now, you know?
Well, they were happy until you come say, hey, maybe I need a couple dollars here and there, huh?
I never asked them for that either.
You went out and got your own.
Yeah.
Because I think it's huge because that's the other part of it. You had the stadium built. You know, there was no stadium at the time on campus. You guys were playing at Pete Goldsby?
Right.
You know, and so you look at today, how many coaches who don't have that facility will go out there and do whatever they need to do without athletics itself to do it themselves and find the community and the right people in order to make that happen? You know, that's the thing that made you different because it's like how many people are going to really invest because they'll say, you know what, that's too much work. I'd rather go somewhere that's going to have their affairs already in order, right?
Yes, indeed. That's why I knew that Carrick wasn't going to make it here. He got out as quick as he could because he was expecting Southern to do what they couldn't do. And that's, you have to understand, you got to understand what an organization can and can't do. Southern was not in any position to do any more than what I did for them. Whatever they can do was going to be for football and maybe something for basketball and then women's sport. They weren't going to do anything for baseball. They couldn't. That's why I did what I did and never asked them and never made a big issue. And it worked quite fine, quite well.
No doubt about it. Out of it, there's a baseball field house now. Out of it, there's a baseball stadium. And there's a rich history that during your tenure still lives on today, that everybody's going to hold every coach after you to that standard. That's competing for championships. That's winning Coach of the Year. That's getting players to be All-Americans, getting players drafted to the MLB. And just this high standard, but that was the standard of excellence that you talked about in the beginning of the show, that when you stood under that post, you said you're going to be remembered in history. And there were many teams, not just that one under your tutelage, that are going to be forever remembered in history.
Yeah, I mentioned that one because that thing resonated big with me when I said that.
Mm-hmm.
I've said some things before that came true, but that one it came true quickly. It was 1986, and it happened in 1987. When history is written, you guys will be a part of it. And I know they remember it.
And I hope everybody out there had an opportunity to hear these stories, because this is the type of things you get to talk about with this guy right here. Hall of Famer. And listen, how many people can say they sit down, not just one Hall of Fame, not two, not what LeBron said when he was going to Miami, we're not going to win one or two, multiple Hall of Fames, but at the end of the day, you're humble about it because you understand it wasn't just for yourself. There were many people that had to come along this journey with you, and you do a great job at paying homage and showing love to those people, because we know in this world today, a lot of people are selfish, and it's always about I and me.
Well, it ain't about I and me. And the fact is, my son could be my greatest testimony and said, my dad don't care about none of that. He doesn't really get involved in there. You know, I don't have my house plastered with pictures of myself all in there. Now, there are three pictures in there that are really, you know, that was different. That's why they're in there, you know. But that's it.
Well, for everybody out there, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. And if you didn't get a chance to catch it, of course, this thing's going to keep running. You'll find it. Just tune in to Pelican Sports Television. And if you see it and it says Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador, you better stop, tune in, and listen to what this guy has to say, because there's a lot of rich history, a lot of great stories, and a lot of success. And hopefully for a lot of people out there, it could be an inspiration for you or anybody that's out there listening, because it is about success. And that's why you see the same thing about your book, Coach, that you wrote, Against All Odds. For a lot of people out there, you have to be in a situation that sometimes you are against all odds, but can you make it work? Can you persevere? Can you get through it? And I think that's one of the greatest things about listening to Coach Cador and hearing these stories. Life comes with roadblocks and hurdles. Can you get over them? So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. We're tuned in. Hey, we'll be back here on Pelican Sports TV next week. So if you get a chance to catch us throughout the week, tell a friend, tell somebody to tune in. This is a great show. So we hope you guys have enjoyed it. And from myself, Perry White, and Coach Cador, hope you guys have a great week. Get us out of here, Coach.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Marty.